Hi, this is our SAT vocabulary list 26. Please take Cornell notes, write down the word, the part of speech, and the definition, and any of the examples that I say or that you think of as I'm going through this list that might help you to remember what these words mean. So the first word is adjacent, and adjacent means it's a noun, and it refers to that which is near something or bordering something else. So if you think of words like adjacent being near, close, adjoining, neighbor, like side by side, these are all words that will help you remember what adjacent means. So an example would be these two doors are adjacent to one another, right? Clearly they're neighboring. It almost looks like their two homes are adjoining because they share a wall, but they're adjacent, meaning they're near, they're close, right next door, side by side, adjoining. Assimilate is a verb, and it means to adapt or to become similar to. And so when I think of the word assimilate, I try to remember that S-I-M in the middle, S-I-M-I-L, it reminds me of similar, right? And so if you think of one person or one thing becoming similar to something else and having to adapt or change the way that they maybe act in order to assimilate, it will help you to remember what this word means. So imagine that you are, maybe you're a foreign exchange student, you're in a new school. Oftentimes you have to assimilate. You have to learn what other people do around you and then kind of fit in by acting maybe different than you would if you were at your school at home. Copious is a describing word. It's an adjective, and it describes plenteous or lots of something or more than enough. And so a lot of times when we hear the word copious, there's copious amounts of food, or during testing in a classroom there might be copious pencils in the pencil box. And so, you know, on a big weekend where it's beautiful outside, maybe there's copious amounts of cars on the road. So it just means plenteous, like more than enough. There's kind of, I get like this sense of like it's overflowing, it's almost too much. So here's copious amounts of food. My husband and I are going to visit family this weekend, and there will definitely be copious amounts of food served. Equilibrium, and this is a noun, it is the state of balance. And so when I think of equilibrium, one way to remember that it's the state of balance is to think of the word equal. Okay, so if you have balance that is due to kind of equal action on both sides of something, then you have equilibrium. And so look at this crazy rock. Somehow this rock is perfectly balanced so that it's able to stay on its point and not fall over. It's perfect equilibrium. Illuminate is a verb, and it means to brighten, to light up, or to supply with light. And we've had a lot of words that have the root L-U-M, which lumen actually comes from Latin and means light. So when you see that inside of a word, be asking yourself, how does this relate to light? So illuminate is to supply with light. So if you have lots of candles, you will illuminate a dark space. 6 is instigate, and to instigate it's a verb. It means to provoke, to urge, or to incite, to cause some action. And so when you think about instigating, I immediately think of small children. They love to instigate things, although there's always a few kids in a classroom who like to instigate maybe bad behavior if there's a substitute or, you know, kind of an untraditional day. But I chose this picture because clearly this little girl is instigating kind of a situation with her animal, her cat, and she's probably going to cause some kind of reaction by tugging on this animal's tail. Malevolent, and I think we had malevolently, which is the adverb form of this word, to do something in like an evil way or with evil intent. And malevolent without the ly is the adjective form of the word, which means it's describing someone or something that wishes evil to others. So when you think of the traditional bad guys in some of your favorite books, whether it's Harry Potter or Star Wars, those characters would be considered malevolent. And I think I pointed out before that M-A-L, mal, means bad, the root word bad. So whenever you see that, you should be asking yourself, is there some negative, bad kind of connotations associated with this word? And again, when you think of Star Wars, Darth Vader being very malevolent. Omniscient is describing someone or something that's characterized by unlimited or infinite knowledge. So they know all. And when you think of omni means all in Latin. So I always think of omniscient as all-knowing. Someone or something, whether it's a person or a character in a book or a god that just knows everything, has this unlimited or infinite knowledge of the universe or the meaning of life or whatever. And this person here clearly looks like he has some kind of spiritual connection, believing in maybe an omniscient power. A qualm is a noun, and it's this uneasy feeling that you get in like the pit of your stomach when you feel bad about something you've done, or you're concerned about what the impact of your actions might be. Maybe you're having like a pang of guilt or a pang of conscience that's making you feel this qualm. And oftentimes when you're feeling qualms about something, you can actually start to make yourself feel kind of sick. And so that's a secondary definition of this, is to have almost like a sense of nausea because you have this very uneasy feeling or pang of conscience. And so this is actually, if you saw the whole picture, this is a bride who definitely looks like she's having some qualms about her impending nuptials, her impending marriage, right? She looks uneasy, she looks nervous, maybe she hasn't told her husband-to-be something that maybe he should know, and she doesn't look real settled and ready to get married. She looks like she's experiencing some qualms, she's feeling that unease. 10 is retrieve, and R-E is a root. It means again. So it is to get again. So to retrieve is a verb, and it means to recover something, usually something you had at one point, but you recover something by searching for it. So if you are in the car, you're about to leave in the morning, and then you think, oh my gosh, I forgot my glasses, or oh my gosh, I forgot my binder. You're going to go into your house and retrieve it. You're going to grab it again. And we even have retrievers, which are dogs who are known for being great at going and searching things out and getting them, which is how they got their name. 11 is spontaneous, and this describes someone or something that's coming or resulting from kind of like natural impulse or tendency. And I think of somebody who's spontaneous as being kind of like in the moment. They just act without a lot of thinking. They don't have to necessarily debate a situation. They just kind of do whatever it is they want to do. So if you're kind of hanging around on a Saturday and you're with two of your friends and you say, I'm bored, and one says, let's go to the river, that's kind of spontaneous, right? It's a spontaneous suggestion. They're down to go do something without, a lot of planning. Here's an example of something that happens, spontaneous weddings, right? Las Vegas is known for the spontaneous wedding where people can basically decide on a whim, we're going to get married and do it. Whereas most people, they get engaged and there's a lot of planning and it just takes a lot of time. So it would be the opposite of spontaneous. But if you just go to this Hollywood wedding chapel and you decide you're going to do it, then that's a spontaneous decision. 12 is taut, and it describes anything that is stretched tight. When I think about taut, I think about materials and fabric. So, if you ever see like a drum that's a real drum that has like a animal skin over it, the skin on top has to be really taut. Otherwise, when you hit the top of the drum, it's not really going to make much of a sound. And the same thing if you're, out and you're doing some kind of skydiving, you want that material to be really taut, catching the air and keeping you balanced so that you have some equilibrium as you're kind of flying through the sky. 13 is valid, and this describes anything that is true. Anything that is founded on truth. And so a lot of times if someone, you're having an argument with someone and they say something, you might respond, That's a valid point, but. So you're saying that's true, but I have a different perspective maybe. And so you can think of valid as just being right, correct, true. If you look at like parking permits, people come around to make sure they're valid, which means basically they're still able to be used for a particular window of time. 14 is subjugate, and this is a verb. And the first part of the word sub is a root word, and it means down. And so when you subjugate someone, you push them down. You push them below where you are, the level where you are. So it means to bring under complete control, to conquer or master. And so throughout history, different people have been subjugated. But, theoretically, you could also bring your own fears, your own anxieties under control and subjugate them as well. But it's this idea of bringing something or someone under your control, managing it, and then hopefully kind of mastering it. So when you get a puppy, you don't want your puppy chewing up your house and acting crazy. You want to train it and subjugate it. Teach it that you're the boss and it needs to kind of look to you for how it should behave. And our last word is metamorphosis. And this is a noun, and it is a profound change in some form. So a form, whether it's your appearance or an actual structural change or a change in maybe your character from one stage to the next. And when you think about this in a biology context, it's a profound change in form, one state to the next state in life of an organism, right? So if you think about a butterfly and how it goes from being a caterpillar into a chrysalis and then emerging as the butterfly, that would definitely be the most classic example of a metamorphosis. But, people can also experience metamorphosis within, over the course of their lives, where they radically change and they kind of transition into a different state. And so as moving forward, I would think of metamorphosis and I would think of the classic butterfly scenario. But know that it's not just limited to, creatures, insects, and animals beyond the human race, but we can very much experience metamorphosis as well.